Chapter 19. Patients sat in straitjackets, their skin grew increasingly pale as the morning started out with a tremendous storm over New York. This time, 6 armed guards stood in front of the room by the door as they watched the patients pant and groan. The dots had grown to the size of quarters now, and the irises in both eyes were completely gone. The dilated, pitch-black pupils even seemed to invade the whites of their eyes far past the iris. One patient then dropped on the floor. A guard said as the men jumped and urged to move in.
"Don't, men. I'll just notify them outside for a doctor. Dr. Huffman said the son might fall due to the amount of sedation."
The guards eased off as one cracked the door and conversed with the outside guard. Lightning cracked through the sky and woke William in the institution bed. The words that Logan last said to William were still echoing ever so slightly in his tranquil mind. William heard loud rain and peered out his window and saw the downpour. The kids and parents in the park across the street scrambled back to their houses and cars. Businessmen and women held papers and suitcases over their heads as they scurried quickly into their workplaces. It looked like the rain took them all by surprise as quick as it woke up William. William put his socks and institution sneakers on. He grabbed his pack of gum and popped a piece in his mouth as it was dry as hell again. William quickly went out to the cafeteria and saw a small group of patients staring out the window into the courtyard, watching the rain. The television was on and the news channel was talking about the surprise storm. William felt anxious. He wanted to go out and stand in the rain, but he was too hungry. Rug's voice came from one of the cafeteria tables where he was already seated with little Mike eating breakfast.
"Hey, William, over here!"
William turned and saw that they had already gotten him a tray of eggs and sausage with some milk on the side. William went and sat down. He took his gum out and stuck it under the table, saying, "Morning, boys. Thanks for getting me food." Ruggs replied,
"No problem, ass. Look at that shitty rain, huh?"
William looked out the window again, turned back and said nothing. William felt older from all of his dreams. He also felt more quiet and just observed everything around him with cold calculation. Ruggs just shook his head, paused with a serious look at William and started shaking his head again. Little Mike stated,
"Yeah, so look at that rain, huh? Wonder how long it'll last." "Yeah, well, let's play cans and stuff in here, right, Ruggs?"
Ruggs looked at Mike with a pause and shook his head again. William gulped down some milk and continued eating. He grew more anxious than ever before. It was already the day of testing and he didn't know what to expect. Nurse Beth came by and gave William his pills. He quickly popped all 3 in and washed them down with the rest of his milk and said with a smile, "Thanks, Nurse Beth." She smiled, nodded and said back,
"You're welcome, William. Let me know if you need anything, all right, boys?"
They nodded and she walked off. Ruggs looked at William and said,
"So, I can't believe that David, Allie, and Steve all left within the same month. You think we're gonna leave soon, William?"
William nodded with a smile. "Yeah, Ruggs. I think so." Little Mike smiled as they all turned and watched as the news on television unbelievably talked about the rain for the next hour and a half. William got up saying, "Be right back, guys. Gotta piss." William headed down the hallway, past his room, and entered the bathroom. He went over to the sink and splashed some cold water on his face. When he looked up in the mirror, he felt different. He actually seemed more alive than when he first came in. His skin was clear and healthy now. He thought for a while and noticed he hadn't been sick or anything in a long time either. He couldn't wait to do the testing and get the hell out of Vista. William looked in the mirror and down at his uniform. He stared at the patch that read 1011. It felt kind of weird that he was a number in the institution, but it didn't bug him too much. William's attention broke by a loud crack of thunder, followed by the lights dimming and going back to normal. William again looked in the mirror, and just as a flash of light flickered and rumbled at the window, William's reflection changed into a bald man with a scar on his eye. He was still wearing the same suit as William. The image quickly flickered back to normal. William recognized that the man looked like Logan, but he knew Logan wasn't bald. It made him wonder who it really was. The hair stood up on the back of William's neck as he jumped back quickly from the sound of loud thunder. William felt it was now definitely the right time for the testing. All of the rioting was now coming together to make sense on a complex level to William. He just wanted this to all be over with so he could leave. William walked out of the hallway and happened to run into Dr. Young.
Hey, there you are, kiddo. Well, while you're here, come on, let's get you ready. I've got the okay after a long discussion with some board members, and we're good to go today. I hope the rain doesn't affect it. It won't. I know it won't.
William suddenly remembered something he hadn't been thinking about for weeks now. His family. Dr. Young, before we go, I want to talk about that night. I feel like it's time to really talk about it. Dr. Young paused with detrimental weight and considered. He looked at his watch and then quickly threw time out the window.
Of course, William,
he said with an understanding tone.
The test can wait another hour or so anyway. I'll notify them upstairs. Head on over to the office. It's open, so just let yourself in. I'll be right back.
William gave a grateful smile and then proceeded to Dr. Young's office. Lightning flashes filled over the well-lit halls as William slowly passed window upon window in the sleek and modern institution. Everything was coming to a point now. William could feel the calm before the storm. He needed one more thing done. He needed to search his own mind as he had done for so many before himself. William closed the door behind him and sat in the office. The drone to the institution's maintenance equipment put him in a relaxed trance. Dr. Young entered in muffled silence and sat as he and William discussed that night. He began to search his mind and recollected a haunting memory to Dr. Young. Part 5. A Birth of Understanding. William's head crashed into the floor from the second story of the ballroom. Blood spilt over the bright wooden glossy floor. Such a clean surface. And it was filling with William and his brother Scott's blood. William felt the pit of defeat. There was the feeling of a conquering evil present. He was losing himself. This couldn't be happening. Then, as he faded out, he heard the music from the wedding. His vision was swiftly swept into that night. White edges burned the final conversation of his father as he sat down next to William. William could still taste the blood from the foreshadowed fall, but quickly brushed it away as his dad spoke loud and clear. William finally ran through the memory of what had been said before the fire.
You know you're my son, and I love you, William. Always have. Always will.
His dad smiled once again. Thanks, Dad. I love you too, William replied. His father went on.
Look at you all grown up now. Never thought time could move so damn fast. Look, William. I know when we talked last, things weren't so good. I said some things that I shouldn't have. I think you and her are good together. I bet tonight's making you think about popping the question again, huh?
William just gave a subtle grin as his dad went on.
You ought to do it. Don't let life pass you by, and don't listen to your old man when he gets stubborn. You can always call him William.
William leaned in and listened close to the next words that hit him like a train.
I remember when you were just a little boy, and you never missed calling out your brother and I's shots. Every time the ball left our hands or clubs, you'd shout it out. Air ball. Shank. No matter what sport it was, every single damn time you got it right. You called him. Even when they were good, William. You called him. Hell, it was like you'd already seen it happen. Just remember, because I'm not always going to be around. and I sure as hell know you don't need my advice anymore. But William, when the time comes, call it.
Then it hit William. The power he couldn't use to help his family. It was like calling it. He remembered how life felt when he was so focused that he could almost see when things were going to happen and how they happened. William pulled himself together. That's how the understanding works. It was like a relaxed reflex, muscle memory for the mind. He could just feel it when it happened. All he had to do was let go of all the pain and distraction from everyone around him and call it. William's body jolted with the chills from sheer power. His mind was clear and vengeful. All of the fire, the screams, the shadows that took them. The shadows that took anyone from everyone. William saw them all as a threat, an enemy. William knew his enemy. And from this point forward was sworn to take them away. No more clouds, no more storm. I'll kill every last one of them, I swear. They may be the death of me, but I swear, until the end of me, they will be stopped. William's father finished speaking. The words echoed as William remembered every last second of the wedding. Spilled in through one of the stairwells on the opposite end of the building. The soft, symphonic music remained at play as the beautifully peaceful scene turned into a nightmare. Panic was scattered throughout the wedding. Everyone was going in the opposite direction of the fire. Smoke filled the room. William got up with his dad in unison. "What do we do?" William looked to his father for an answer. His dad yelled,
William, you grab her and those kids. Find a way out. I'll go get Mom and the rest.
William watched as his dad ran across the room toward the larger bulk of people and gathered them to follow. William ran to where he saw Sarah last. The room was so full, though. Everyone was so frantic and chaotic he couldn't see her. Then Scott slammed into William. William turned. "Scott, have you seen Sarah?" Scott pointed out and yelled, "Over there! But come help me! I need to get Grandpa! He's fallen over there by the overhang!" Scott pulled William by the arm toward the center of the room where a black iron rail surrounded the opening to the first floor below. As he helped Scott pull the old man up, William noticed how far down the first floor was. Both entrances were spitting flames now, too intense to be passed. William watched as a few people broke the glass for extinguishers. William panned his view. It all looked hopeless. He felt powerless and couldn't focus. He caught eye contact with Sarah. As he looked in her frightened eyes, he heard a familiar scream. The scream from those things. William saw that Sarah had a frightened little girl holding her hand. She was crying and scared to death. He then felt a dark pit grow. He looked back toward the bulk of the crowd where his father and mother were. He couldn't see them through the smoke and flames that had far reached into the ballroom. The wooden floor was like kindling, a runway for destruction. William began to cough from the thick black smoke that filled his lungs. He let go of his grandfather. Scott started yelling, but William couldn't hear. William could see it. He could call it. Then, when all fell quiet in his mind, he saw it actually happen. Near the area where the crowd was, an explosion. Fire filled in around everyone. William, with watering, devastated eyes, was sailing through the air in slow motion along with his brother Scott. They descended. Fire filled the area overhead as they fell below. William looked to his brother during the fall. It took an eternity. William remembered the charcoal scuffs on Scott's face and burns on just the side that had faced the blast. Scott's hazel eyes grew dark with hopelessness as he cried out in fear.
William!
The scream from Scott echoed out into William's mind until it was all that existed. William felt the sensation of being held or pushed up and landed on his head in the bottom lobby of the building. The fire that seemed to have started in the stairs was now creeping down to him. Smoke began to come in. The two brothers lay on the ground in the center of the large and now blackened room. Ash fell from above like rotten snow. Scott had a wheezing sound coming from him as William called faintly. Scotty, no. William's vision turned a tad red as the blood from his fall ran down his face. He blinked once. Scott's eyes were now closed. He blinked again and saw boots from the firefighter. And he blinked one last time as they proceeded with CPR on his brother, right next to him. One last blink. William's life flashed. Then, there was a rapid vision of space, time, and the ocean. Stars hurled overhead. The moon waxed and waned. William then saw that strange man, with one last call of his name. The yell stretched with time as William's consciousness faded in with pain and reality. William's eyes burned as he opened them in the ER. William remembered the rest. The woman nurse's voice overlapped the man's yell with a calm,
William, it's all right, you're all right.
William shot up in the medical bed.
No, I'm not all right. Where are they? My family. I need to see them now. I need to see if they're... Oh.
The nurse welled up and called for help. She came back in. Doctors and other nurses rushed in. William tried to get up. They all rushed in and held him, trying to explain.
William, don't. William, no. I'm sorry, William. They didn't make it.
Can somebody get a goddamn sedative? Now!
William wrestled and ignored his pain. A power from within jolted. He shoved a doctor clean across the room. Another doctor yelled out.
He's gone berserk!
A nurse nodded and ran out of the room. William cried out as they covered him and held him to the bed, or at least tried.
No! What the fuck do you mean they're all gone?
William's world collapsed as he crumbled from the pain. Could it be? All of them? William was then sedated heavily as he fell into a deep sleep. Suddenly, William came back into focus in the office with Dr. Young, tears streaming down his face. He looked at the doctor.
Why? Why couldn't I save anyone? Why was it just me?
William was now yelling in the room. Dr. Young stood and tried to talk.
William, I know you're remembering for the first time, but you need to...
William sprang up from the chair and said,
Shit! Oh my god, no! They're all gone, Dr. Young. All of them. Not just Dad. Scotty, Sarah, all of them.
Dr. Young couldn't speak. He didn't know what to say for the first time in a long time. He just let William go. William then felt nauseous. A sickness came through him as he tried to leave the room. But every step was sheer agony. The room spun and his head felt like it was being drowned and overcome with fear and sickness. William stumbled from the room. Dr. Young ran out with files still in his hand.
William, you need to breathe, kiddo. Calm down, it's all right. I'm here for you, son.
William couldn't pay attention. He held onto the wall as his legs gave way from the pain that filled his mind. Dr. Young ran up, files threw everywhere as Dr. Young released them to catch William. He held him up and helped him walk to where he wanted to go. I want to go to my room, Dr. Young. I need to. Dr. Young hushed and quietly said,
It's all right, William. I understand. We're going there now, okay, bud? But you gotta walk first, all right, William?
William listened and focused. Nurse Beth came up behind them and immediately felt concern from William's state.
Doctor? Is William okay? What happened?
It's okay, Beth. Just go get those files and put them on my desk, then come help me, okay?
She quickly obeyed and picked up all of the papers. She rounded them all up in an ugly pile and rushed into Dr. Young's office. Then she threw them on the dark wooden desk. She nearly turned to run, but did a double take and noticed William's photo and main file. She couldn't help herself. William was so different from the rest, and Dr. Young seemed focused on him so much that she just had to read. The nurse picked up the papers and quickly read through the files. William Iris, patient 1011, age 22, sex male, reason for self-admittance. William Iris, on the night of Friday the 22nd, was found on the bottom floor of the Ensley Ballroom in New York City. He was attending a family wedding when a strange gas fire had been deliberately started on a main line in the bottom stairway of the building. The suspects are still an unknown. Fire grew out of control, main lines blew. William and brother Scott Iris were the only two thrown from the second floor. All attempts to break windows in upper floor had failed. CPR was then administered to Scott and then William, as William had not gone unconscious until moments after brother had received CPR. William and brother resuscitated and brought to the ER at 22:12 hours. Unexplained lack of injury. William received small concussion from fall. Brother Scott had 3 broken ribs, both lungs punctured, and fractured femur, along with severe head trauma on right side. Fell into coma for 17 hours and then passed the next morning. All other family members remained upstairs during fire. William Iris was the sole survivor. In result, patient has had severe memory loss. Also, as side effect, William may have grown a paranoid schizophrenia, of which he may or may not have had genetically. There is simply no other explanation for his symptoms. Audio and visual hallucinations in the day, claims to hear other thoughts. William tackled a man in broad daylight upon suspicion of malicious intent. William said that he heard the man say he was going to kill. William's concept of time seems to be distorted as well. Puts events in odd order. Says he remembers things happening, although they have not happened at all, or as he claims, have not happened yet. Clearly, William does not feel safe to society anymore, and has admitted himself here at the Vista Mental Institution. Nurse Beth dropped the files and began to cry. She had no idea. No one really did except William, to some extent, and Dr. Young. She stayed for a moment and let her sorrow out for William, recollected herself, and ran to help Dr. Young and William. Dr. Huffman came around into Dr. Young's office to leave some papers and caught Nurse Beth, who was now crying.
Hey now. Easy. What's going on?
Nurse Beth continued crying and told him what she had read. Dr. Huffman, after hearing what happened, rushed along with Nurse Beth to William's room. William was sitting on the bed. He looked more calm now, surprisingly focused. The truth of it was, time was different for William. In the time it took for them to leave the office and get to his room, he had already gone through what felt like months of mourning and coming to terms. William had already searched his entire mind, and nothing was left but the next step. He knew he couldn't change what happened yesterday. All he could do now is change what was to come. Dr. Young continued.
Are you sure you're okay, William? I mean, you just now...
I'm fine, Dr. Young. I'm positive I want to go ahead with the test. It's the only way, Doc. The only way to even try and make sense of anything now. Too long has this overcast loomed and conspired. I want to make a difference. I want to attempt at learning and moving forward. What's happened to me has only further fueled the desire to move forward. The turmoil settled, and one by one they left the room.
You go on ahead, William. I'll meet you at the elevator.
William nodded at Dr. Young and went on ahead. Dr. Young turned as Dr. Huffman said,
Jesus, Charles. You sure he's ready?
Dr. Young replied to both Nurse Beth and Dr. Huffman.
How about that, huh? One of the few families in the world that isn't so petty or shitty that everyone showed up to the wedding. No one had left early. Every single one of them, Frank. Every single one except him.
They lingered for a moment of closure and affirmation, and the test proceeded. William caught Dr. Young on the way. They got into an elevator and headed upstairs. William grew nervous. Dr. Young looked at William and noticed the nervousness in his eyes and said,
Hey, relax, William. Today we're going to explain things that even I don't know. We all win today.
William felt better and remembered how much he wanted to figure out what was going on. He also thought that this testing would tell him why this ability only worked once at the wedding, and mostly after he came to Vista.